Just 2 weeks after the SAFE Act was passed, the first legal challenges were filed. One of those suits was filed by the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. On December 31st, the district court in Buffalo ruled on that lawsuit, upholding the assault weapon ban but striking down the 7-round limit.
We filed an appeal and the state filed an appeal. So that in itself tells you that it's a split decision, okay? And we are in the process of preparing the briefs for the arguments in the Second Circuit.
Cuomo administration officials say they believe the SAFE Act is compliant with the Second Amendment and that the administration will continue to defend it in court. Since the lawsuit was filed, others, including the New York State Sheriff's Association, have joined the Rifle and Pistol Association's lawsuit. The Shooters Committee for Political Education, or SCOPE, also has a lawsuit in the Northern District of New York on the same issue that is continuing despite the Western District's ruling.
We have some DAs in a few counties are saying that they're not going to honor it because they're not in the Western District. So that's why we're going forward with that suit to make sure that that is complied with statewide.
Beyond the lawsuits, both SCOPE and the Rifle and Pistol Association are continuing opposition against the SAFE Act.
Our actions are probably, 2 or 3 pronged, okay? We've did the original and continuing with the public relations aspect of it.
We are also going to be working this year to make sure that every gun owner in New York State is registered and gets out to vote come November.
The governor's administration says the SAFE Act is working. The office cites arrest and arraignment numbers that show just over 1,500 people have been arrested under the SAFE Act. But opponents of the SAFE Act say those numbers are misleading.
If you look at the crime statistics for the year before, okay, they were almost exactly the same numbers. The only difference is that they're calling the same arrests that were made under the penal code and the gun laws that were in effect at the time, they're now calling them SAFE Act violations. There's no difference.
Officials in the governor's administration say 1,507 people were charged under the SAFE Act in 2013. According to the numbers given to us, only 83 of them were charged with new crimes. And of those 83, 44 of them were charged with having more than 7 rounds in a magazine, which has been overturned. The others were charged with crimes that existed previously but now carry stiffer penalties under the SAFE Act. For those who have filed lawsuits against the SAFE Act, they say the fight is continuing.
We'll see what the Supreme Court of the United States says, because that's where it's going to end up ultimately.
This is not going to be easy, but we're not going to quit. The people are not going to let this stand, and we are going to make sure that the SAFE Act is overturned or repealed one way or another.